podcast. If you're watching on Facebook, you're already here, so you don't have to worry about it. Oh, man, what a beautiful day. Isn't it a beautiful day, Aaron?
It's a beautiful day. I've missed you. I haven't seen you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's been so long. You've been on vacation, Aaron, LG Insurance.
Feels like forever.
You know, it's great to. You look great, by the way.
It's the first time I've sat down and relaxed since the last time. You know,
it's a full-time. Two young daughters is a full-time job.
Full-time job. Elle turned 6 on Thursday, and yesterday was my birthday. So, thanks, Mike, for the birthday shots.
Yes.
Only 38 more shots left before we hit that magic 41.
Before we're finished.
Michael, Timpani.
Yes.
Timpani inspects.
Yes.
And a whole lot more.
Whole lot more.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Good. I'm so glad you could join us here.
I'm glad to be here.
For those out there that don't know, it's Totally Local Podcast. The Jersey Shore's premier podcast, covering Monmouth County, Ocean County, entrepreneurs, local businesses, and colorful characters in and around our beautiful area here. And the weather is heating up. And even if it wasn't, people seem to not give a shit because they want to get out.
Hell yeah. People are done.
Yeah. They are done with all of the not going out.
Yeah, they're done with not going out. They're done with COVID. They're done with everything, I think.
It's time to be out. I got my second shot tomorrow.
Nice.
I'll be fully vaxxed. I can go hug and kiss anybody I want to.
Hug and kiss. We're going to have a kissing booth at the next podcast.
You got to show your card first.
Yeah, you got to show your vaccine passport before
Is that
you
like
make
a
out
thing?
with Aaron.
If you're on Tinder, do you put your vaccine passport on Tinder so you're?
I don't know.
I think
If I said I knew that, my wife would be very upset.
I just missed the.
Yeah, I'm not going to co-sign that one.
I don't know if you
Honey,
guys.
it's research. I promise.
You guys never. I never got to go on those dating apps.
I was like.
I just missed it.
That was before that.
Yeah, I just missed it.
The apps, yes, but so my wife and I met on Match.
Oh yeah.
So we're a Match couple, but the actual apps where it's interactive and a little bit more fun
that's trouble
and easygoing. So I hear
way easygoing. My younger brother, man, he tells me stories. I'm like, that ain't right. I met my wife on OkCupid. It was the last person I was like, this is stupid. I'm off of this. I'm not gonna do it. And it was like the last part. I was like, there was a couple people I wanted to message, and I was just so sick of dating and trying to date, and like I'm not good at it. I'm very not good at dating. So I just wrote her. I'm like, hey, what are you doing Friday?
I'm tired of looking.
Yeah, I'm tired of. This is it. This is my last one. So it's either you or.
We're on page 12. I couldn't I'm not going anywhere.
Because I didn't mind being single. Single's fun. Like single, not dating single.
Yeah.
Like single, where you're just kind of.
Seems like so long ago. I don't even remember.
Single, building a business.
Yeah.
Single, and having no accountability partner is fantastic.
My friend.
I definitely didn't save money during those times. I'll tell you that much.
Oh no, I don't remember what I was doing. But if you scroll through my personal Instagram, there's some torrid scenes. But yeah, I just talked to my friend. Speaking about people getting out, I saw my friend. Epic shouts to Ralph. I haven't seen him in months, and he got his vaccine. We were hanging out, and he was all dealing with this single life. And me and my wife were asking him what it was like during this whole thing, and he said it was fucking crazy. He said it was a wild time. Because you never know.
And it's underground.
Was it crazy like the real
anything.
estate market crazy or like?
I think it was crazy like the real estate market crazy.
Okay.
A lot going on, a lot of buyers, a lot of sellers. But speaking of which, real estate, man, you've had quite a career. You're an entrepreneur in the truest sense of the word.
Absolutely.
It seems to me from our brief discussions and what I've did a background. I went on Spokio. I looked you up. I saw some things. It seems like you've really traversed a swath. It's not like you woke up in kindergarten and you were like, I want to be an accountant, and you just straight and narrow went that route. You seem to have found what you wanted to do and kind of hit the ground. Once you knew, you hit the ground running. Am I right or am I right?
I think so. I mean, I started off as a probably 10-year-old with a lawn service.
Nice.
And it just went from there.
That's awesome.
I think, true entrepreneurs are like fickle people. they see something and they want to just keep tasting and trying until they get it right. And probably for most of my life that sucked, but then it ended up, growing into a lot of experience that helped me get to where I am today. So I'm all right with it.
So you went from, what was your mindset as a kid? I epic shouts to my cousin Joey Dew, who he had that motivation when he was a kid, which I certainly lacked, between neuroses and not giving a shit. I didn't have that motivation, but my cousin Joey, he wanted to work. Epic shouts to Chicken Corner. It used to be in Middletown on 35. I don't know where it is now, if it's still there. But he was working there illegally because he wanted to work so bad. He was, what's the age? You're supposed to be 16. I think he was 15, and he just kind of got
Yeah, something like that, right?
So you're kind of along those same lines as far as you started a lawn service. And how did that, what was going through your little tiny brain at that time?
I don't know, just making money.
I just want to know what you were charging because I just got a bill from
Not enough. So me and my buddy Tom were basically charging enough to have enough money for a cheeseburger deluxe.
Nice.
At the Golden Star Diner in Neptune City. That was our objective. Can we get there? And we underbid ourselves.
Get a burger.
And the stuff we did, you would never let a kid do today.
Like a chainsaw and stuff?
Yeah,
cut this tree or this tree?
oh yeah, we'll clean your gutters at 12 years old.
Wow.
we couldn't even start a weed whacker alone. We would need one to hold it down, the other one to pull on it. It was
It's tough.
we were that young. So
you could get away with that. You could get away with it back then. I remember, so we had a couple snowstorms this winter.
Yeah.
And I saw these, I'm looking out the window, I'm working away because I was home because I wasn't driving. And I see these kids with shovels. I'm like, oh shit. So I run out downstairs, I'm in shorts, I put flip-flops on and I chase them down there. I'm like, are you guys working? And I had them come back and shovel my driveway because I'm like, fuck it, I'm too lazy.
You never see that
yeah.
now.
I don't want to do it. I paid these kids $50 and I paid them $50 and they worked for a half an hour. They made out like champs.
I wouldn't even, I did the
And
same
I didn't
thing.
even flinch at the $50. I'm
Yeah.
but
It's a
20
payment of
years
convenience.
ago, 30 years ago when you were doing this, it was $4 and you're like, got the
know.
whole lawn? I'm like, good.
We were just happy that someone was going to give us cash for something,
Tell
But
the kids,
that's,
I'm like, come back every 8 hours.
and to think about that too, lawn services, I don't know what the deal is, but we've contacted a couple different landscapers to just be like, look, we just want you to tell us what the price would be and come and do it. And you don't hear back from them. They're too busy.
They're all so busy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish, I wish I had a proclivity to go out and do things in the lawn, but I certainly do not. Now, as far as you going from a lawn care specialist at the age of 10 to
I wouldn't say specialist.
to having your own business inspecting homes, you were a DJ, you worked in real estate, you tried a bunch of different things.
Yeah, so me and my brother, we're third generation craftsmen. My father owned a general contracting masonry business.
Nice.
Since he came here from Italy and or Sicily. You don't want to say people came from Italy when they came from Sicily. But so we were basically born in the trades and doing construction. But as a young kid, the easy thing is to cut some lawns and make some money. So I think it was just ingrained in me to be an entrepreneur, to kind of do my own thing. So in 1999, my brother and myself, we started our construction company, FTJ Builders.
Mm-hmm.
And that company's still going to this day.
Beautiful.
In 2018, I started Timpani Home Solutions, basically geared towards the real estate market, a little offshoot of our construction company. Still we still work together in it, but that company was geared towards doing pre-home sale inspections, after home inspection estimates, and doing punch list stuff for sellers and stuff like that. But along that way, a lot of my agents were saying why don't you do the home inspection portion? And I was like, I don't know. In this state, you have to get licensed for it, and it was more of a pain in the ass than it was. That was basically it. I couldn't do it because it was just a
I mean,
a hurdle.
What's the license? How long does it take to get the?
It's
You got your real estate license.
yeah. So we'll back up a little bit. In 2015, I got licensed as a realtor, and that was after buying my second house, and basically that process, I met a lot of agents that didn't know what the hell they were talking about.
It's
And-
real easy to
yeah.
become a realist. You gotta study, you gotta
Yeah.
sit down for 20. I have my, if it's a testament
I
to
have mine-
anything,
and
I
I have mine
have
too.
mine. Do you have your license too?
Listen,
It's really
there's
easy
a
to
low
get it.
bar of entry.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
And
you
but
can
when
imagine
we
who gets it.
when we were looking at homes, we had a lot of agents just kind of bullshitting us, not knowing I was a contractor, and I was like, what? I want to be the agent that's going to help.
I want to bullshit people.
Yeah, like I want to bullshit people. I get paid for it.
You don't?
Not in real estate. I mean,
Not in real estate.
But
Just on the microphone.
I went into real estate with like the heart and mind of I'm going to help people know what they're buying, and I'll be like that honest agent that they could turn to, whatever. And so the real estate, getting into real estate helped develop Timpani Home Solutions and now Timpani Home Inspection Group. And so it's kind of like just a blending of everything and seeing what I liked and not liked from each industry and kind of just put it all together. And that's where I'm at now.
It seems to me that whether you're doing real estate, contracting, home inspections, to be an honest, hardworking, intelligent, knowledgeable person in that business, it's not like you have to go from here to up here. It's like you just have to show a little bit of compassion, a little bit of knowledge, and it just seems that maybe some real estate agents, some contractors just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
They just don't want to even put in like between, your house, your foundation is going to fall in on itself in a couple of years. Letting somebody know that to just wanting to sell the house is just this huge gap for some people where they don't even want to give you that service. And it's so frustrating. So frustrating.
Yeah. I think a lot of agents, what I found along the way, there's a lot of agents that they're scared to lose the deal. Mm-hmm. So they'll do anything to keep the deal together. And those are the agents that really hurt the buyers. The agents that are honest and that basically let the buyers know, like, hey, this is what you're buying. Like, if there's a problem, like, we have to find something else. Like, there's a lot of good agents like that out there.
Not
and
in
I think
this,
those
not
agents.
in this market.
What?
Not in this market.
Well, right now, it's basically like,
You can't find anything in
no,
Ocean County.
you're buying stuff. Pretty much, I'm coming in there just to tell you what you're going to pay for down the road because the seller isn't giving you any money back.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm
it's
going
a-
in there to tell you what you're screwed with in
Yeah.
5 years, 10 years, and tomorrow, by the way.
Exactly.
So, it's a natural progression. And not only that, like, there's something that's been coming up in the books I've been reading, the audiobooks I've been listening to, the things I've been reading, about online. The idea of you're either working on your business or you're working in your business.
Oh, E-Myth.
And that's right. And you seem to kind of, am I wrong in assuming that you've kind of maybe struck a balance between, you're marketing yourself, you're on social media, you have your podcast. So that's working, on the business of promoting your business. But you're also obviously doing the work as well.
Yeah.
Was that kind of difficult for you to figure out? Some people have a tough time. Aaron, you tell him make a video, of yourself talking about insurance. Aaron's down to do it.
Yeah.
But I have to go to Florida. The last two were in tropical weather, so
Definitely helps.
plane
Yeah.
tickets.
But you seem to kind of grasp that idea of like you got to put yourself out there. Was that tough?
Absolutely.
Was that like a barrier for you to get into?
I think now we could talk about the DJ industry a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
So I started DJing when I was 13. My brother is 19 years older than me, and he was DJing way before that. So like DJing was just something that I grew up doing.
What was your DJ lawn care? What was your DJ name?
Actually, when I was young, it was DJ Mike Quest.
Oh, nice. I like
with
that.
an upside down question mark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Keep
like-
them guessing. I love it.
Exactly. So like my brother was all into Soulful House, and I was all about hip hop and R&B and stuff like that. And we used to go out and buy records in New York City and Asbury Park.
Love it.
We used to. My brother actually was one of the purchasers for Mac Records. So like, music was just in my life. Fast forward, getting into more like mobile DJ work, doing work with companies like SCE Event Group. Jay was very much on the headline of being out there social media wise, putting his stuff out, doing vlogs, doing all this stuff that people weren't doing at the time.
Uh-huh.
So when I got into real estate, I took some of that and I was like, well, we were creating content at gigs, at events, at weddings, and that content landed to what he was posting on social. So I was like, well, why don't I just kind of bring that into real estate? Just whatever content I could create while I'm on the road, do that. And now, after doing that for a few years and doing the home inspection stuff, it's even way easier because every time I'm at an inspection, I'm taking 400 photos.
Yeah.
There's all this content that I get, and I take video of a lot of my stuff for social and for my client. So in my report, like the client could actually see the video of the water spraying out of a broken hose or something like that.
So you were in a crawl space. Was that today? You were playing with Sump Pump, or was that
that was
yesterday?
actually probably
That's
about
an
a
old
week
video.
ago. Yeah.
So you're clean right now, right?
Yeah, I'm clean right now, I think. I
There's
took
no
a
crawl
shower
space.
before coming in.
There's no crawl space on you right now. That
No,
was
no.
earlier this morning.
No, that
or
is like the worst.
headed there
Cross-face.
next.
I try to explain this to people too. It's like now is still a golden era to no matter what business you're in, your competitors are not doing what they should be doing. So you have this wide berth of like, listen, you do something is better than definitely nothing.
Yep.
And I could imagine, because I've worked with home inspectors before, we were talking about this earlier. A lot of them are just, they don't give a shit about Instagram.
No.
You know, let alone like, you know, Instagram, Facebook, anything. They're not doing any of that stuff. They're not explaining it. And it's just like basic information to let people know of what they should be looking for, so their house is in good standing. And
Yeah.
you're kind of covering that. And on top of that, you're doing the podcast too, which, you know,
Yeah.
it's called the First Timers Podcast.
Yeah.
And I assume that's first time home buyers.
Exactly. Yeah, that's where it all started. Like for first-time home buyers, sellers, and investors. And I started that maybe 3 years ago now, and it's been a great gateway into meeting new people, just networking with people, and it's all about also content creation. Like being in business is all about creating content also. Like
Yeah.
if you're not creating content, you're just going to get lost in the news feed.
Yeah.
So I'm always thinking about what content can I grab out of this. Like if I'm at a home inspection and I see, like today there was that I posted a sump pump that was leaking. Like after I saw it, like for the buyer, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make sure I grab at least 15, 20 seconds of this because I'm gonna load it onto TikTok and I'm gonna make this a TikTok Tuesday post for me. And so this is like the way my brain thinks while I'm doing a million other things, you know what I mean? But it's, for me, like I'm a solo entrepreneur, so I have to do that for myself. I don't have someone out there saying like, hey, make sure you do or grab this content, you know, so we could post. And then thankfully with home inspections, there's so much content with finding stuff. If I didn't do a home inspection for a month, I still have enough posts that I could put out.
It's like this secret sauce that like it's right in front of people. There's a lot of home inspectors out there that obviously are doing absolutely zero. And the fact that you're out there, you know, the social media is how people get their information. That's how they get their news. And I was on Facebook the other day, and somebody posted a before and after. They had their hot water heater, and then they had like a tankless before and after, tankless setup. And I just commented on it. And I was just like, that's great. You know, my water heater is shot, it's leaking. And they just started talking to me. And I'm like, imagine all the people that they're in this business. They've been doing it since, you know, 30 years, however long. And they're not even doing that. They're not even like, you know, and it's part of the business. So that's great. What was wrong with the sub pump? What do you mean it was leaking?
The first piece of pipe had a crack in it.
Okay.
So every time the pump turned on, it sprayed water.
But it wasn't like you weren't in like a foot of water.
No. It was actually spraying right into the pump. So really, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, epic
you know.
shouts to the genius, aka my brother and his friggin' roommate, who built my friggin' deck, and they broke my sub pump, the PVC pipe
Yeah, that's not
snapped,
good.
and I was so done with them. I was so done with them that I was like, you know what, guys, I'll take care of it. Hopefully, there's not another like Noah like level flood coming through, because if there is, my whole basement is screwed. My comic book collection will be done. But in the meantime, I will take care of it. Thanks a lot, Rob.
That's
Anyway.
what family's for.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They built a beautiful deck, though. The deck was beautiful. They just
Oh,
got
man.
frustrated and they just kind of tried to jam the pipe in there. And it
Sometimes
snapped.
they get in the way, the pipes.
Yeah, exactly.
You
Luckily,
leave
it's
for the next
PVC.
guy.
Pipe was in the way of the deck.
There's
you know.
so much in my house. My house is over 100 years old. There's so much pipe. There's so much pipe, like plumbing, that is it's all welded together and it's painted over.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had to fix it. Believe it or not, viewers at home, I can fix things.
Prove it.
I will send
I wanna see the before and
I'll send the
I want
receipts.
video. I want video.
All I know is shark bite fittings are your friend.
Absolutely.
All you need is a little emery cloth to get that paint off of there, and you could, the problem with my house, and not to get too deep into this, but the problem with my house is that a lot of the there's no valves on on the sinks, so you have to just shut off the main.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I have to go in and put these fittings on, but I've done that enough to where I feel
You're a pro.
comfortable. I wouldn't say a pro, but I remember going.
You have a couple in the box just in case.
Oh yeah, oh definitely.
Ready to go.
Ready to go. I know where everything is. I've shown my wife. I'm like, if anything ever goes down, if there's water
Here's
spraying,
the shark bite box.
I show her the valve, the main. I'm like, this is the main one. You shut this off. That's all you do. Baby's crying, throw the baby in the crib, go into the basement and shut this off. Otherwise, we're doomed. So please shut this off. I know enough now to just be dangerous. I'm never gonna mess with electrical because I don't want to die, Aaron.
You don't want to get shocked.
The plumbing, I'll deal with that. That's fine.
Yeah, you could get wet.
Yeah.
You get crap on you, but you don't want to get shocked.
Yeah, I don't want to, exactly. It's something where it's interesting when I look back on my home inspection, like when I look back at the report, I never really, the house was purchased before me and my wife were really married.
Mm-hmm.
So I really did not, I was late to the game when I saw the report, and I really didn't pay attention to it. But for all those homeowners out there or anyone thinking of purchasing a home, the home inspection report is your friend. It is like basically the Nostradamus you need to whenever your house falls apart, you could probably, unless it's a shitty inspector, but
Yeah.
if the report is done right, you could go back into it and be like, oh, we definitely have to fix the roof. Like we
Absolutely,
definitely,
yeah.
That's why I love home inspection reports.
Oh yeah.
And we talked about this when I was on Mike's podcast, and if I look at an inspection report, I know what the insurance company is going to come out when they do the insurance inspection 2 weeks after closing, what they're going to find, and we get ahead of it.
Yeah.
Some people are happy about that. Some people tell me to go scratch and they go buy something else, and that's okay too. But I'm like, I know what's going to happen based on the pictures that I'm looking at of that galvanized pipe in the basement that's leaking, that fuse panel, that old knob and tube wiring, the roof that's more than 25 years old, and I just know it's going to be a shit mess. Like, you're buying this house because you want to buy it, great, but let's insure it the right way.
How does that work now? I imagine that it's a lot of wink and a nod when it comes to an insurance company and a home inspector. It's not like you guys are really enmeshed or working together. But what the report says and what the insurance, you guys are basically telling people what you should be doing, whether it's the insurance or the inspection.
The
You're
insurance
pointing things out to them.
company, the insurance company will do an inspection about 2 weeks after closing, depending on the size of the house. Sometimes a drive-by, they'll take pictures of the siding and the roof and the garage and any flood vents if there are. Sometimes it's an interior, COVID kind of prevented interiors, and they required some people to take pictures of their own hot water heater, their electrical panel, and the furnace, right? There's certain things that we can see inside the utility room or the garage or wherever everything is we know how well the home is maintained based on the way your electrical panel, your hot water heater, and your furnace look.
Yeah.
The age of those, and then the age of the roof. You can kind of tell the age of the roof if you see shingles that are lifting, a lot of staining on the roof. You can tell if the roof is kind of at its line. Like, I know my roof is like almost there, so I won't change my insurance right now.
Yeah, not yet.
Because I know what's going to happen. The insurance is going to be like, your roof, you're missing 2 shingles over there, and you know, it's old, so replace it. So I'm like, I'll replace my roof, and then I know I can change my insurance and save a couple of bucks at that
Nice.
time. Like,
So
experience tells me
Yeah.
this.
So the home inspector is basically just laying out the facts. Like, here's the house. Here
Yeah.
are the things that are not. Is it based on regulations, standards? How do they determine, like, you know, where that comes into play? Like, you know, the roof needs to be X, Y, Z. Like, where do those? Is it just a standards, or how does that work?
So there is a standards of practice we work off of, as far as what we need, like we have to inspect and what we don't have to. But a lot of it is your experience kind of plays into it, and that's where, like any industry, you know, this industry, real estate. When there's an industry that you could take a class and become a professional within weeks, that leaves a gray area of experience. And I saw it as an agent, the inexperienced home inspector, that once they knew I was a contractor, they let me shadow them, and they kind of just let me like point out stuff that I saw. But overall, like, it's really the call of the inspector. And I think that's where you have a lot of agents that hate the inspector that kills the deal.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you could kill a deal just by flagging something and not explaining why. You know, it's easy to be like, oh, that roof's bad. Well, why? And what is the cost? How do we fix this? That's what people want to know.
Yeah.
Like, especially in this market.
So do more inspectors just flag it and say no, and
Yeah,
where
I
you
think a
come
lot
in,
of-
you explain it?
Yeah, I think a lot of inspectors, because as a contractor, I went in after inspectors to fix these things that they said were wrong, and we would go in and we're like, there's nothing wrong here. Like, why did they flag this? Why am I even here? You know? And I think that comes with inexperience. You know, when you're in construction for long enough and you've done the repairs and you've built the homes, you understand the severity of certain things. So I call out strikes and balls no matter what. Like, I have to call it out. So if I see a crack in the foundation, even if I know it's not an issue, I'm calling it out. But I'm explaining to them, like, on the report, this looks worse than what it is. And the fix to this is really nothing more than caulk or cement, you know? But, and then if it's a little more severe, I will let them know, like, hey, this still may not be nothing, but we're going to have another person just verify what I'm saying, because I don't want to be the last word on this in case it is something. But people feel comfortable when they know that you have the experience and you're able to explain what would be the next step. Like, okay, well, if the seller was to contact me, this is how I would have fixed it before you even bought the house. And then they're normally like, all right, this is not a big deal. And I think that's where a lot of inspectors that don't have previous construction experience kind of throw a wrench into a lot of programs, because you could do 400 inspections wrong. You know, just if you didn't have the experience beforehand to tell you if that was right or wrong, just because you took the class and the class gave you some, you know, basically some highlights of what to call out or not to call out, that doesn't make you a great inspector. You know, I think what makes a good inspector is someone that could tell you what's wrong, tell you how it's fixed, and tell you like how that could impact you moving forward. And that's what buyers want to know. They want to know, like, is this a $1,000 problem, a $200 problem, or a $10,000 problem? And I basically come into the inspection saying to people, like, hey, listen, I'm going to take a lot of pictures of a lot of $50, $100, $200 problems. Don't worry about those. Like, those are problems that every single home has. If I come into the bigger problem that we need to get someone else to verify, then that's when I'm going to say, hey, come over here and look at this. If not, I'm just going to go through the house. You're going to have 60 pages of crap. Don't worry about it. And then even if you're worried about it, let's talk about it after. Like, don't kill the deal off of what you see, because it's not worth it. It's
So how does the average, you're dealing with a lot of home buyers. I would assume a lot of first-time home buyers. What's the average process to finding a home inspector? Like, how does one go about finding a home inspector, like, traditionally?
I think most people rely on their agents.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So I mean, really for me,
there are a lot
it's
of really good agents out there. Though.
yeah.
There are.
Yes.
I'm joking.
No, well, but do you know what? Like, the agents don't sometimes know if they're referring a good or bad home inspector.
They want to get the deal done.
Yeah,
they
well,
want Greasy Pete to go in there and everything's slick and fine and everything. Oh yeah, you're good.
Well,
you're
do you know
great.
what's funny is I had to do like an apprenticeship or something while getting licensed, and I went out with this guy that did, I don't know, 5 home inspections a day. I can't do 5 home inspections a day. That would be like 1,200 photos if I did that. But this guy did 5 a day, and the first one I went to, it was amazing how many things he missed, just kind of breezing around the house. And I instantly knew, like, this is why this is the preferred vendor of a lot of these agents, because his inspection report's going to be small and not too many problems are going to come up. And he's cheaper because he's doing a whole lot more inspections. But you can't do a great home inspection while being that way. But how could, so people find, most of my clients are from referral from an agent. There's some that are from Instagram. I get a lot of work from Instagram.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And then the other, I was going to say Gmail. Google is like another one that comes up. And Facebook groups, I get a lot of referrals through Facebook groups also.
Yeah, it's gotta feel good to get that when you're like, people are like, hey,
Oh,
I'm looking
yeah,
for a
yeah.
home inspector, and
Absolutely.
they're like, Timpani, go to this guy.
Or even when I get, referred from an agent that I've never done work for, but they know me through social media, and they're like, hey, you have to use this guy.
That's great.
That's pretty cool.
There's this X factor when it comes to insurance, home inspections, real estate agent, the person buying a home, where there's a goal, and the person that wants to get this house, it's like you get so emotionally invested in a house. You have the real estate agent that's pushing you, because real estate, if you're a real estate agent, and I've had this described to me from, my family. I have a bunch of real estate agents in my family. It's like going to get bet the ponies. You put all this, you put all this money down, you put all this time, you put all this effort in, and you're just waiting for it to cross that finish line, and you're just waiting. There's this certain X factor that the insurance is going to point out. Hey, this is obviously, most likely after the fact. Hey, this is a problem. This is a problem. Before the fact, you have the home inspector being like, listen, this is a problem. If they're a good home inspector.
Yeah.
There's this certain X factor where it's like, I don't know how you could fight against emotion when people either they really want a house.
Yeah.
The real estate agent really, it must be a lot like being a parent, being a dad. And you're trying, your daughter's, you got to give her hand away, just getting married. And you're like, look, there's a lot of red flags here. He's, let's just say, he's got a lot of debt, and he loves riding that motorcycle, and we don't really know what he does for a living. And she's like, I love him. I want this house. I want it so bad.
Yeah.
And you're just like, all right, well, the roof's fucked up, and the foundation's cracked, and people are just not listening. How do you you just give them are you just stone cold Steve Austin? You just hand him the report and you're just like, good luck. I can't get emotionally invested in this.
No.
What do you say to them?
No, I don't. I try not to just drop the bag of crap at the door, light it on fire, and run. And I think that's what some people do. Like, my objective when I go into an inspection, I first find out, are they a first-time home buyer? And if they are, that's when I have that conversation of let me set some expectations of what you're going to see here, and if it's bad, we'll discuss that. But in the end, the decision is up to you guys, and you're going to talk to your agent and your attorney, because a lot of people will ask me, well, what do you think of the house? my threshold is a lot different than someone else's. Like,
Don't buy this house. Go look at another one, then pay me again to do another inspection.
exactly, yeah. So, like, being a contractor, I'm not scared of a lot of homes. So my threshold is way different than someone that has to pay for it all. So I get asked a lot, like, well, would you buy this house? And I'm like, it's unfair. Don't ask me that, because I will buy a house that you'll never buy. But if you're okay with paying, another $5,000 to get these things repaired, then you should buy this house, but that's a conversation they need to have. So I try to go into the process with a lot of empathy and compassion for everyone involved, because the seller wants to sell it, the agents both want the house to close, and the buyers want the house, but they also don't want to buy a house that they're unsure of. So I mean, my whole objective is be there for them as much as they need. Even if I've gone through the final walkthrough with them, so they could, they're like, they were supposed to fix things. Can you make sure they fixed it? Like, I will be them through every single part of, whatever it is. For me, it's not just the home inspection. They get the report and that's it. Like, I want them to call me if they need an electrician or a plumber or a contractor, and if they have a question, because I think that's the part of the service that goes way beyond whatever, other people are doing. And I think that's what differentiates good professionals, not just a home inspector, but realtors, insurance people, like people that'll be there and answer those questions that don't make them money at that moment.
Yeah.
That's what makes you, better at your
Just
trade.
common, decency to be like, look, this is what it is. It's kind of like with the insurance, you have this kind of barrier as far as like, you don't have to say, don't do this, do this. It's like, look, the chimney is effed up and you got to get it fixed, because I can't insure you if you don't get these things fixed.
Oh, I can always find insurance.
But that's the thing.
Finding insurance is what we do. However, we like to make recommendations and match people with an appropriate insurance company at the right price and at a proper coverage, because you can go online and in today's market buy insurance on a house that's assessed off of a value that was 2018, that's 50% too low, and then you're underinsured and you're left holding the bag, right? And there's bad language in a lot of policies because they're cheap, and they're cheap for a reason, but it doesn't mean that you can't buy an inexpensive policy either. So we like to, to match insurance with people with houses. And I told the guy recently, he's like, oh, I got this quote from this other company and it was $1,200. I'm like, well, I'm $2,600 for your house because it's falling down and you have a fuse panel. When they come out to inspect, they're going to cancel you. When they cancel you, you can call me back. You won't call me.
Yeah.
Because most people are too proud to
Shame.
to come back and say you were right. But that's what happens.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to write this piece of shit policy and then let it cancel and let's fix it later. For my $100, let's do it right the first time and not worry about it.
It's amazing that with the people don't really, there's this short-sightedness that's involved. There's this X factor, like I was saying, as far as like all these people involved, they want you to do the right thing. Hopefully you have people in your corner that are, invested in making sure that you're content or understand what's going on.
But there's also so much emotion,
Yeah, the emotion is
don't tell me
crazy.
the house I'm buying is a piece of crap.
Yeah.
Tell me the house I'm buying is great, and I'm like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's great, and you're gonna live in it, and you're gonna love it, and you're gonna spend the rest of your life fixing it and making it.
That's
better.
the house I'm in. Hey,
But you know what?
True.
Love it and enjoy it, but just
Yeah.
understand from my perspective, here's what we're looking at, and here's what we need to figure out. And from his perspective, here's the things that should be repaired this week, next year, in 5 years, and
You're
the
gonna
fact that
deal
he's
with
going
it.
back to final walkthroughs. I've purchased 7 or 8 houses in my life. I have a lot of inspection reports.
Yeah.
I've seen them all, and I could care less about them, but you use them to create a punch list also, which is fantastic. When you're buying a house, you're like, all right, priority, not priority. And
Make
you
that
can-
punch
and you can
list.
make it work.
And don't-
It's a fantastic tool for that punch list.
I remember, love my wife. If you're watching, love you, love the house, love it all.
Can we take
love
a
it.
shot to
Sure.
Mrs. Talcott
Yeah.
to learn,
Hook it up while I.
I'm sitting here staring
Jabber.
at
I mean,
this
now that
beautiful Puerto Rican.
just like a, just a half from me,
got
not a full. But my wife was telling me, she's like, I went through the home inspection report. The insurance company, they mentioned how the walkway is messed up. The walkway is uneven. We got to fix the walkway.
Dangerous.
All right. So I'm like, all right, well, what does that involve? I got to pull a bunch of shit up. I'm like, we don't need this walkway. It was in front of the house. It went nowhere. So I'm like, we'll just pull it up and put bushes in. So and this is just a note to everyone out there to really make sure that you're the one that reads the inspection report. She's like, we got to take care of this. We got to the insurance. They're going to drop us, blah, blah, blah. So we rip up this whole walkway, put bushes in, looks great. Oh, whoops, that was the wrong walkway.
The wrong walkway.
That was the wrong walkway. So then I had to go in. The roots were busting out the walkway. It was like cement. Like
concrete was heaving.
Yeah. So, then I had to, cheers, guys. So then we had to fix this other walkway.
Cheers to the right walkway.
To the right walkway. Holy moly. All right, so
A little fire in the belly.
we had to fix the right walkway. I'm working with my younger brother again, epic shouts, Rob.
You need a sip of water.
I'm good, I'm fine. He's lowering the slab down. I'm like, you got to do it slowly. Doesn't do it slowly, cracks it. So then I got to take these creative pictures where I'm like, all right, we'll put a little dirt on there. We'll get it at a nice angle. They won't even see the crack. And they didn't see the crack, and everything's fine. It's perfectly fine. If my insurance company is watching, if anyone out there is watching, you're not going to trip and fall on the walkway.
The
But
dirt will save you.
Yeah, you really gotta look through it and really pay attention. And kind of speaking to what you're saying as far as like making that list of, the first thing they kept saying the roof. That's a huge, that's one of the bigger, aside from the foundation, the roof is like.
It's a big expense.
Yeah, so I mean that was one of the first things we had to kind of take, and I swear, like I don't know what can be done about this. It is so difficult, not only to find, a home inspector, but to find a contractor, to find a roofer, to even when the guy that did our roof, which it was great and we're dry so far. But even when I was talking to the guy, I was like, I don't know if I trust this guy, but I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what is involved in making sure a roof, they're up there. I don't see the top of the roof.
Yeah.
My dad, epic shouts to Pops.
Fly the drone over.
He grew up in Jersey City. He's a Midwesterner. He grew up in Missouri. He moved to Jersey City. It was a very eye-opening experience, and he's told me all these stories so that I don't get bamboozled as much as I could. But he's told me stories where like people, his friends, his gangster friends would like come through a neighborhood and be like, oh yeah, we'll tar your roof. They'd set up all the equipment. They'd be like, all right, keep it going. There was absolutely no tar going up the roof. So I hear these stories growing up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going. They got the tar. It's heating. You smell it, and they got the. Oh yeah, keep it going.
They got the same bucket going up and down.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like thinking of this while these people are working on this roof that I can't see the top of. I'm like, they could be doing. I don't know what the hell they're doing up there.
Yeah, it's
all you have this reputation, and it's social media, Google reviews, all these things make it so wonderful. By the way, LG Insurance, 5-star review on Google, if you're wondering. You got to look at these things when you're finding somebody, because what else are you going to go on?
Yeah, but do you know what's a shame is that I mean, a lot of times people price shop off the bat.
Yeah.
So that is the first problem, is they go immediately to the low guy, and the low guy normally has there's something they're missing, or they're not going to show up. They're just they grab you as a contract, hoping that they just get to you to fill it in, or maybe they'll upsell you a whole bunch of problems that they saw that they did not know about, and their contracts are very convoluted or written in crayon or whatever. So, like, listen, in construction for over 20 years, I've seen it all. These are guys that don't have the same construction name 2 years from now, and or they put it in their wife's name or their daughter's name or their son's name. But people off the bat, when they price shop you, they automatically disqualify you because you're ridiculous. Why are you that much money? And I get it all the time. They're like, well, why are you so much more than the other guy? And I'm like, well, XYZ. Like I'll lay it out, and they're still like, well, I don't understand. And I'm like, well, you will understand when you move into the house and they missed all this other stuff. You know, my experience. And I tell people, well, ask the inspector what they did before getting this license. That might give you an insight as to
That's a good
why
idea.
they're at the price point they are. Like a contractor with over 20 years experience doing your home inspection that can answer, you know, what the cost of renovating this kitchen might be, or can we actually move this wall, and not just giving you a bullshit yes answer. Because yes, you can do whatever you want, but there's other things that go on to moving a wall. Like your opening, if you move it 6 inches more, could mean $10,000 more because now you need new footers down below. So having that experience comes in the cost. It is what it is. Like when I go into a house and I find a problem in 3 minutes, like that's what you just paid $400 for.
Yeah, it's
like
the
that 3 minutes
experience.
is. I walk in and I immediately could feel this is messed up and no one even knew about it. Like that's what you're paying for. My experience.
You're gonna learn. You're gonna learn one way or another. You're gonna learn the hard way or the easy way. The hard way being you're gonna go through the motions. Like I had a deck put on onto my backyard last year, and the process I had to go through to get that done, to where you had you had Johnny Come Lately show up. He's like, oh yeah, $6,000. This will be done. Boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, what about like inspections and plans? Nah, we got it.
Do it on the weekend. No one's around.
He didn't really like go into detail. Then we had a couple other people. We had people that came out said they'd give us a quote, never showed up, and I was just like, okay, well, let's I picked somebody out of the spectrum to do the deck. And they sent in these plans, and I'm no math magician, but they sent in these plans. I'm like, these numbers don't add up. Epic shouts to my younger brother Rob and his friend who did the deck, because I had to get my cousin involved. Luckily, I have family that are smarter than me and that know how to do things. But he has an architecture background, and he had to draw up the plans, and then submit them to the town. Because you could take that easy step and have Johnny Come Lately come in and do it, lay some pavers down. There's no footing. There's no it's not set up right. It's not pitched right, and you're going to deal with that. Or you could spend the extra money, which is I ended up spending more money than I thought I was going to end up spending. But when you're dealing with a town, we were talking about this earlier. Whether you like it or not, depending on the town, depending on who you're dealing with or who you know, you got to get something inspected. Yeah. Somebody might not let you get away with certain things, and you have certain plans. I had these plans done up. This deck is not. It'll be the last thing standing on this thing. Well, we had to charge more money because this deck is. There's more lumber. There's more supplies. I'm like, there's more lumber. There's more supplies, so that my 1-year-old doesn't fall through it. In a couple
that's the
of years.
whole thing.
You watch the videos on Facebook of the decks just collapsing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just like
you don't want to be that guy.
No, when you're gonna own a home, it hurts, it stings, but it's like you're gonna have to pay. You're gonna pay one way or another.
One way or another.
You're gonna pay insurance to cover your ass
keep paying.
When something happens, or you're gonna pay the inspector to let you know what's coming around the corner.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the big red flags? What are some of the things that you see, a first-time home buyer, you're inspecting a house? Is it like more foundation issues, or what are some things where you're like, guys, this is bad?
If it's structural, that is like, to me, the major red flag. Mm-hmm. A water heater, like it is what it is. That's a couple $1,000s. Like if someone is, especially today's market, like you can't go into today's market not willing to spend a few $1,000s on repairs yourself. Mm-hmm. It's just, when it's a buyer's market, it's a little different. You have some more leverage. But right now, yeah, like I know what the market is, and that's where it's good that I have my real estate background. So I'm there to not help the agent, but to give some information to the buyers like, hey, listen, this is the market you're dealing with. So if you can't accept and take care of these items, then I don't know what to tell you, but like you have to. But if it's structural, like cracked beams, cracked roof rafters, any big structural issues, that's where I'll raise the red flag and say we need to get it further evaluated, and I think this is going to prove like you have some money issues here. But even if a roof is on its way out, I'll give them an idea of what it could cost down the road. If it's not leaking at the moment, I can't flag it for being bad. Sometimes roofs are like 3/4 of the way there. Some inspectors will be like, oh, it's at the end of its life expectancy, and it might last another 5 years. That might be enough time for the buyer to save some money to redo the roof.
I love it. Oh, the home inspector said my roof is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's 25 years old. I'm like, what did the home inspector say how old it was? He didn't know how old it was, but he said it was fine.
It's like a 7-layer burrito. There's like so many layers of
Oh, yeah.
shingles on it. You're just like, this is not legit.
So sometimes those are good because you have way more layers for the water to not
It's
penetrate.
like the same thing, Oh, my mortgage broker said I should only be spending $1,000 a year on my homeowner's insurance.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, good. You have ratio issues, and they're playing funny games.
Is there a point where have you ever seen a house where you're just like, this thing, it's like either Amityville Horror where you just need to just shut it down, and like, have you ever gone to a house and been like, this thing is going to fall onto your head and you're gonna die?
Yeah.
Have you ever had to say that to
Yeah, I've
somebody?
been in homes where the foundation's totally gone. A lot of those are like REOs, like foreclosures. We don't see too many right now, but what's scary is that people were living in them just prior to the
So
foreclosure.
you see some of those old brick foundations where they're just bowed out.
Bowed out or just totally washed
just
out.
gone.
Yeah.
I remember in college, I wasn't very cool, but I knew people that were, and they would go to these punk parties and like punk shows and stuff, and they'd be in these foreclosed houses to where the house you'd be going up the stairs and you'd be like, we're gonna all die in here.
Oh yeah.
You know, there's certain houses
some
where
homes,
it's
yeah.
like you just gotta knock it down.
But there's
Yeah,
better drugs as you go further up the stairs.
I think
If you
the
can
house
make
is
it.
straight. You guys are twisted.
So I mean, there's definitely circumstances where you've had to tell people like, look, you're gonna die in this home.
Yeah, I mean, there's sometimes I go into a house and I'm like, man, I definitely did not bid this house correctly. I spent a lot of time here, and I just take a deep breath, and I'm like, damn,
Yeah.
this is gonna be some work.
Is that the case too with insurance, where you've seen houses where it's just like, I can't insure this? It's is there houses where they're uninsurable?
Yes.
What is an example of an uninsurable house?
When the roof is like beyond, like there's bad roofs, and then there's beyond roofs, and then there's knob and tube wiring, which is wiring from like the 30s and 40s and 50s. And then there's also wiring that's aluminum with fuses, which is really bad because people used to jump out the fuses with pennies. And so anytime there's a house with a fuse panel that's still working, or knob and tube wiring that's still in the home, like uninsurable, period.
How about Federal Pacific?
Federal Pacific
Stab locks. Like, I mean, we always call them out.
is bad too. If anybody
Yeah.
still has one of those old circuit breaker panels that are Federal Pacific that were all recalled right back 20 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever it was. I had one of those in a condo that I owned in Long Branch more than 10 years ago, and we had to replace it after a period of time. But yeah, there's a lot of issues, and the insurance company looks for these things because at the end of the day, the insurance company doesn't want to rebuild you a house.
Yeah.
They want to make sure the home that you're living in is safe, and if an accident occurs, they'll pay. But when we know that at some point this house is going to spontaneously combust because of the wiring in it, or the galvanized piping is definitely going to be leak all over the fucking place, we want to get ahead of it. The insurance companies want to get ahead of it, and we want to advise people appropriately. So we can insure almost anything, but there are some limitations to to us putting our neck on the line to saying, yeah, we're not going to insure that house.
There's certain things we had our like I said, it's a 100-year-old plus house. We had our upstairs bathroom redone. Now the person that owned the house, it was a 98-year-old woman. Her husband passed away a few years before she did. They weren't using this upstairs bathroom. We had the bathroom redone, and cheese and crackers. We had this bathroom redone. The guy, he redid it. He got the hell out of there. He threw out. You know those little caps that go over the toilet, the toilet screw. You bolt the thing in. You get the caps. I'm like, where the bolts are sticking out? Where are the caps? Where are the covers to this? Oh, I must have thrown them out. That was his last text to me. I'm like, asshole, you threw them out? Can you get me some more caps, bro? They're still there. The caps are nowhere to be found. Leaves. He the guy that redid the bathroom. I don't know if it was a good idea or a bad idea, but it was on the second floor. The floor of the bathroom was like concrete. It was like poured concrete.
Yeah.
It was very insulated. He pulled all of it out. We were pulling out newspaper clippings. It was like from the 20s, from like the 1900s, really old stuff. Redid the whole thing. Brought in his good old boy buddies to do the plumbing. It is what it is. Let's just leave it at that. So we go to use the sink. I turn on the sink. It's brown water. To this day, this has been like a year or two where it's like the upstairs bathroom, it's like that sink is just like, oh, we redid this. Looks really nice. Yeah. But you're not using that sink. I'm not going to be like, hey, Junior, do you want to brush your teeth?
Yeah,
and it's
not
like
in that sink.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? At this point, I'm like, the pipes, they're done. What am I going to do at this point?
Yeah.
And it's like, who am I? It's like Gotham City has Batman. Who's my Batman? Who am I going to turn to when I need somebody I need some plumbing justice? Yeah. What am I going to do at this point?
You know what you do? In this real estate market, you sell it and you tell that buyer, you are buying all my problems and
as is.
That's it.
Yeah. Exactly.
See you later.
As is, and you go buy a newer home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're trapped in this bathroom now of like, they pulled all this old stuff out. They did all this work. They pulled out the thing. I was the one in the bathroom that they gutted it. And all of a sudden, all this like weird golden light little chunks of like stuff start pouring into the bathroom. And I'm like, what the fuck is that? I don't know. I'm like, I look it up. I'm like, oh, it's vermiculite. I'm like, oh, what's vermiculite? I look that up. Like, oh, it could be contaminated. 60% chance it could be contaminated with asbestos. Yeah. What are you gonna do? I don't know. I had to help him suck up all of this insulation. I might, I'm probably, it's probably not looking good for me in the next 30 years. There's a 60% chance it's not looking good for me.
You're not going to be able to sue him because you won't find him.
No. It's a longer story than you could even imagine. But so we pull out all this stuff, and I'm just like, how do you find Timpani, home inspection? We go to you for a home inspection.
Yeah.
Obviously. How do you find good contractors these days? How do you find a good plumber these days? Why is my water brown, and who can I talk to about it? Who can I trust? Like, how do you find people?
I think, like, the only resource right now that's, to me, is pretty decent is, like, Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. Because the guys that are answering and getting referred normally are the guys that the neighbors are happy with. And people will crap on you really quick if you're not answering. If they're like, oh, that guy didn't answer me. Like, hey, how come I called you 7 weeks ago? You know what I mean? So I think, like, right now, that's almost the only outlet, because Angie's List and all these other paid
Angie's
service.
List is so it's gotten contaminated.
Yeah,
with
well,
bullshit.
I mean, it's a paid service, so like whoever pays
it was
the
good
most.
at a certain point,
Yeah,
but then at
maybe.
a certain point it got bad.
I think good contractors don't need Angie's List. They don't need
Good contractors
advertising. Like,
are balling. They got Mercedes Benzes. They're living in Brielle. They got big ass houses on the water, and they don't give a shit about me.
Yeah,
they don't care about me. They're dealing with people in Rumson and stuff. With ascots.
yeah, I mean,
I don't got an ascot.
There's like different types of contractors too out there. There's the guy that like basically just kind of brings, puts money from the left hand to the right, and he makes a ton of cash, and he's in the right sphere. And I know a lot of those guys, and
there's got to be like somebody's got to set up some kind of a network of like, these people are good and I can vouch for them. And once they get a gambling problem or some kind of, then they're betting on the ponies too much. Yeah. There's got to be a way of flagging them. Otherwise, it's like a shot in the dark. You're just
So we just need Andrew's List. Like, That's how,
There you go.
That's how
Andrew's
Andrew's List
List.
started, but let's just start an
It's
Andrew's
starting
List.
right now.
Yep.
We got LG Insurance for insurance.
Thank
we
God.
got Timpani Inspects for home inspection.
Exactly.
We're looking for a good plumber. So if you, I'm gonna roast the shit out of you. If you say you're a good plumber and you're not a good plumber on Andrew's List, you're gonna be in trouble because I
There you
will
go.
personally make a video roasting the shit out of you because my water is brown right now. I'm calling you out.
The
So
problem is
brown.
when they come there and they tell you you have to rip down these walls so we can replace these
That's
pipes,
what I'm
you're going to be
telling-
like, oh, forget this.
You're too expensive. Let me
I'll,
get another
I'll
guy.
just deal with running the water for 10 minutes
my
first.
my wife, there's water damage on the ceiling in the kitchen, and she's like, "Well, we could just fix it." I'm like, "Listen, it's all fucked. This is all fucked." I'm like, "We're not gonna paint this." I'm like, "We gotta
Sell.
rip all this out."
Sell.
I'm not.
Sell.
I can't.
Yeah.
I wish I
Need a
could, but
realtor?
I can't.
Definitely so.
I at this point, I'm too. I'm in
Let
too
it be
deep.
somebody else's problem.
I'm in too
Sell.
deep. I can't.
Sell.
I want. Plus, I want
Sell.
that historical marker.
Sell.
We're up for a plaque on the house. So
Ooh.
yeah, I want that plaque.
I'll give you a plaque. That'll be your closing gift.
Yeah, seriously.
Give you a
Oh
plaque.
my god.
I'll give you a
Our
discount on your
neighbors,
home inspection.
our neighbors just sold the house across the street. Shh. That's the other thing too. Like stuff it's crazy right now.
Oh,
It's-
ridiculous.
I feel you know what makes me really sad is that the idea of investors coming in, buying a house and renting it out, as opposed to the people, the homeowners, the families that live in the neighborhood that want to either they want to either move into the neighborhood, they want to upgrade, and they can't even get the house
Yeah.
because these investors are coming in with briefcases full of cash. And I get it, I understand. Would I be doing the same thing? 100% if I could. But like it's really sad to think that like the opportunities to own a home right now are diminished for people that want to raise a family in a specific neighborhood because these investors are coming in, the cash deals, they're coming in scooping up the houses. That's what we're dealing with right now, right?
Yeah, you're getting cash deals. You're getting no home inspection contingency. Basically, they're just having me there to make sure that it's not falling apart. You know, a lot of times they'll just do structure, and I've been called like, "Hey, I just need you to look at the structure," and I'm like, "Well, I'm going to do the whole thing. Like that's what I'm here for. That's what you're paying for." But yeah, it's a crazy market right now. And
What
if
is-
you're a first-time home buyer, I don't know, like unless you have a lot of cash, this isn't the time to buy.
People are assuming there's I mean there's two schools of thought. Either it's going to just keep going up, or there's people that think that there's going to be some kind of a crash. And I think it's a supply and demand. There's only so much that's in
Yeah.
Monmouth County that you could buy. You can't. There's no room. There's no room to do anything. Maybe if you go into Ocean County, I hear Whiting is very nice, guys. If you want
Yeah.
to check out Whiting, talk to the mayor of Whiting down there, see what's going on. I'm sure he's real easy to get a hold of. But you know, there's. I personally don't think that the prices are gonna like go down to
No.
what we've seen in the past. You know?
I don't think so. This market is very equity rich. So all the cash that's in these homes, I don't think you're going to find buyers that are going to foreclose like they did last time with bad loans. So I think we might see eventually a little retraction, but I don't think we're going to see a crash. And like you said, there's a supply and demand issue. Like we're out of land.
Yeah.
Like so like if you want to live here, you have to purchase the inventory that's available. Where South Jersey, Ocean County, they're still building.
Yeah.
And they slowed up right now because of material costs. But if they ramp up production, you'll see those homes that are like, 20 offers drop down to maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Because there's more supply.
And that's what you guys joke, sell my house. If I sell my house, where am I going to go? Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Like, where am I going to go?
Just
Am I-
gotta keep going south on the park.
That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Oh man, then I'll be living in Whiting. God damn it. It's tough. It's really tough to find people that you can trust. There's got to be, I think that you pointed out, the having it out in the public, having it on Facebook and putting yourself out there like you've been doing, it really it separates you from every other schmohawk that's out there doing it, because it's like I'm putting myself out there and people know me.
Yeah.
That's really how you have to find people to do it. Other than that, like, what are you gonna do? It's chaos out there.
Yeah.
How many? So you're doing like if you're doing an inspection right, you're doing like one inspection a day, two inspections
Two
a day.
inspections. Like I try not to do more than two, because I'd like to spend the time there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to rush through it. I want to give the people, 2.5, 3 hours of my time, so that they could ask their questions and we could go around the house and I could, calm them down most of the time. So for me, I'm okay with doing less and giving a better product. And that's just how I plan on continuing to do this. I know that I could rush through way more, but that's just not what for me, it's
Yeah. For what's the point?
exactly. I understand what they're going through. I was a buyer before, I was a seller before, I was the agent before. So I understand everyone's stake at the game, but ultimately, that buyer is really looking at me please, give me the best guidance you can. And I don't take that lightly. I think that that's a serious role, and it's more than just charging a few $100 to do the inspection. It's I want to be able to do my job correctly and not feel rushed or not feel oh, this guy's just trying to jip me and I'm going to just breeze through it. So there's many times where I don't get the inspection, and it is what it is.
You have to try out. I didn't. I thought they just kind of realtor picked you. You did it. And
They'll
then they could
give-
bring in somebody else?
Well, sometimes they'll give
like
2 or
American
3
Idol?
names, and I'll have people call me up and they're like, "Listen, I'm looking for the best price," and I'm like, "I'm not your cheapest guy." So if that's the case, then they're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa," and I'm like, "Well, if you would like for me to explain why, one of the big things that I use outside professionals to do my pest and termite, and I use the same people every time, and they're like, well, this other guy includes it," and I'm like, well, I was the agent when that other guy included it, and he missed the stuff because the professional that does pest and termite sees that stuff better than anybody else. So for me, paying another professional in there, it's so worth it. Even though I might lose deals because of it, but my guys are going through the house, and a lot of times they're looking at stuff while I'm somewhere else, and then they come to me and they're like, "Hey, Mike, I saw an issue in the crawl space. Let me show it to you." So you're getting 2 professionals on the job instead of 1. Is that not worth another $100 or a couple $100? It doesn't make sense. But people are so hell bent on, no, this guy's price included this much, and I don't want to go over it. I'm like, well, this is your investment. If you think using one inspector that's never done pest control is better than using an inspector that's built homes and an inspector that's done pest control, then go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm
good with
spending $500,000, but I want to save 150.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I've talked to Aaron about this before, where
All the time.
people are like pennies. They're like, this is your house. This is what you're gonna live in. This is what your
Yes.
kids are gonna grow up on. They're gonna grow up in this house. Don't cut corners when it comes to radon. You don't want radon seeping into your basement. You don't want those kids huffing on that radon fume, son.
This conversation makes me want to drink.
Yeah.
Thank God
definitely.
we're drinking.
Well, load them up. They're there. You started
Those were
this
only
tradition-
half.
All right, fine.
They were
You
only half
started,
full before.
you started this tradition on every other podcast, so there you go.
Don
Blame
Q.
you.
We're drinking Cristal.
I gotta say, man, it's been refreshing to talk to you about all this. It's a crazy market. It's crazy stuff going on. As far as this market in this area, I am gonna start Andrew's List. Totally Local Podcast is starting a Totally Local Facebook group to because there are real estate agents that I love. There's certain people that are out there that I would recommend. For as far as real estate agents that know
Absolutely.
certain areas, that know certain things, I would love to have that to where I could just be like, look, I trust this person.
Yep.
You could come here and you will be held accountable, in the court of public opinion if you do something right or do something wrong. So I really like that idea. That's a really good idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, at this point, I refer out agents because I'm not doing real estate. I have an active license, and it's basically for me and my brother to look at homes. And it's easy for me when someone gives me a home, I pull up the MLS, and I'm able to look at the seller's disclosure and get into the house before I even walk into it.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of good agents out there.
Yeah, there are. Definitely.
They're the agents that know their job, that know like their place. Like, so I worked with this one company, Kamasa Agency, Frank Kamasa. And the one thing he did teach me, that's not where I'm at now, but he was very smart at saying, he's like, when you're a real estate agent, put on your real estate agent hat. Like, when people stay in their lane and they don't pretend to be the contractor, that whatever, and they're not like, yeah, you could open this up, you could do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's easy to say that to someone, but when they don't know the price tag associated with it, or that it's actually pretty difficult, like, oh yeah, you want to open this up, well now you need to bring in like fletch plates and beams, and it's going to cost you thousands of dollars, and they're like, whoa, I'm already spending too much money, like maybe we'll look at a different house. So there are good agents out there.
Definitely.
And I think over time, I've definitely come to appreciate the really good agents. And, when I first came out into real estate, I was all about crapping on agents. I'm like, they all suck. They don't know what they're talking about. But then after working with them and, finding the real good agents that actually care about their clients, there's a lot of them out there. And, but I think it's hard to differentiate, who's the good agent, who's not, who's really going to look after your interest, and who's not. Like, who's the good insurance brokers and who's not. Like, it's tough because, especially in the home buying process, you're in that cloud of like, most of these people don't even know what's happening until it happens to them.
Oh, yeah.
They're like, oh, you need an attorney. They're like, I didn't know I needed an attorney. They're like, you need it now. We just signed a contract. They're like, well, who do I use? And then the agent's like, well, call these people. And then they're like, who's the cheapest? And I'm like, don't go with the cheapest because that's a guy that doesn't give a crap.
Yeah.
Go with someone that, interview people. Like, that's my whole thing. Like, just interview people. Like, see what they're about. And just go with your gut.
Or have me interview them, because if they want to come on the podcast,
Exactly.
that's your first,
That's your first step to getting onto Andrew's list.
Yeah, exactly.
To be a guest on the podcast. And,
Mike, I want to
to
thank you. I want to thank you so much for coming
you.
on. What's the best way people can get in touch with you that you prefer?
You can call or text me, 848-207-9642. Social media, I'm always on there, at Timpani Inspects, on everything, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I don't know, wherever.
Nice. And check out the podcast.
Check out the podcast at First Timers Podcast Show, and TimpaniInspects.com.
Cool. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
coming on. This has been great. I definitely want to have you back on. We got more to cover. Aaron, again, you're bringing the heat every
Beautiful
time.
day.
It's
and
it's just begun.
what's
Where are we
next?
going after this?
What's next?
We need some. We need to go down to 10th Ave Burrito, get a burrito.
Boy, 10th Ave Burrito for some tequila.
Oh.
But what about, so Thursday we have Mike McLaughlin
Oh, yeah.
coming in, who just hitchhiked from Florida to PA.
You're
and is
you're
gonna be on
bringing in
Totally
the
Local.
you're bringing in the
where did
heat.
Why do I
Heat
sell
vibe.
insurance when,
Yeah.
I'm a better booking agent for Totally Local?
Are we?
You know?
Is Chris Dietz going to be a guest?
Chris
on
Dietz
Thursday?
is going to come hang out. We can.
Oh, man.
I'm sure he'll be more than happy.
Fan favorite.
To get on a microphone and talk about criminal enterprise and.
Oh, I love it. How to tax or not tax or figure out what to do with that money.
Yeah.
Anyway, Totally Local Podcast, people. It's your place to be if you want to know what's going on. Monmouth County, Ocean County. Epic shouts to the man Angelo Gingerelli, Mr. Fifth Round on Instagram. He's showing you the events. I got to post that video today. I love this area. If you're going to buy a home, you got to talk to Mike. If you want to insure that home, you got to talk to Aaron. And if you just want to bullshit about what not to do when you're trying to fix your bathroom, you can talk to me. I got a whole list of what not to do. All right, thanks, guys. Thanks very much. Thanks, Wrecked Productions, for hooking it up. As always, making it look super, super professional in here. James, you're the man.
Thanks, James.
All right, guys. I'm going to take these shots. Cheers, guys. Oh.
All right.
Cheers.
Salute.
Cheers.
Hello.
Holy moly.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how to turn this off, James. Sweet, I'm drunk.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I don't know if I should leave now. There's a cop on the other road.
Oh yeah, I saw that. I'll be fine. And I'm like, get up with a bottle of
My wife's still at the campground, so I get to go home to a quiet house.
campground?
Yeah.
Where at?
We have Our fifth wheel is at Pine Haven in Seattle City, like right Cape May Courthouse. I don't know. All those towns kind of blend. So she's down there right now. So it's nice and quiet. She's with the kids. Oh, it's so nice. She's down there. I came up last night and she stayed. It's nice. This is a great space.